now we're going to take this conversation a step further by actually speaking to a language expert who has joined us in the studio this morning in name and person of Afolabi Oni. He's a language expert. He's a multilingual, resourceful person with about 15 years financial and business markets experience. He obtained his BTech from Federal University of Technology in Akure, Ondo State, and he's a student member of the Chartered Financial Analyst. He actually speaks at least 9 international languages at business and conversational level, namely Chinese, Yoruba, German, French, English, Igbo, and Spanish, among others. We have Afolabi Oni in the studio with us. But before we get into the conversation, let us get more insight into who our guest is from the video that is about to play.
Amigos, mi nombre es Afolabi. Je soy intérprete y professeur. Je m'appelle Monsieur Afolabi, l'enseignant-chef de l'école qui s'appelle AG Languages. Je parle 9 langues. Mein Name ist Afolabi. Guten Tag alle. Guten Tag, meine Freundin. Meine Freunde. Mein Name ist Afolabi. Ich bin der führende Lehrer von AG Languages. 我叫大王，我的中国的名字是，我的中国的名字是大王，我的尼日利亚的名字是Afolabi. Orúkọ mi ni Afolabi, èmi ni alákòóso iléèwé AG Languages. Èdè 9 ni mò ń sọ. Ana m agbambọ isu Igbo language. Ana m agbambọ isu asụsụ Igbo. Ndewo. Ana m asụ Igbo ọfụma. Udo dịrị gị. Odo Derono, Jisike, Ekason. Kansamnidayo, Obrigado.
That is amazing. Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Very glad that you're able to join us in the studio this morning. So I know your
Thank
bio.
you so much.
Your bio says you can speak 9 languages. How many languages can you actually speak?
I can actually speak 15 languages.
Wow. Can you name them, please?
Okay. French, German.
Okay, you know what we're going to do? You will name them and say good morning in all of them. Can you do that for us this morning?
Yes, I can.
All right, please. Let's go.
So we start with English. Good morning.
Good morning.
Spanish. You say buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. French. You say bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. German. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen.
You go to Igbo. You say otutuoma.
Otutuoma.
You could say isalachi.
Okay.
Isalachi or ibolachi.
Okay.
Yoruba, you say ekaro.
Ekaro.
Ekaro. They have read other languages.
Yeah.
You could just greet. You have the obrigado.
Okay.
In Portuguese, you have the kansamnidayo. That is
Okay.
Korean.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what our producer likes in
Oh,
particular.
really?
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know the number I am now, but
Yeah.
I think I must have been on 9 or 10. I
Yeah,
don't know.
something like this.
But that's basically.
That is so fascinating. It's a
basically.
wonderful thing to have a person like you in our studio this morning. I'm
Thank you so
very
much.
glad that you're able to join us in for the conversation this morning. So I'm going to get straight into it with a very direct question. Do you think learning languages from movies, is there a value? Can there be a learning value from learning a new language from a movie?
Wow. Yes. A new language. First of all, I should let you know, people speak the way they write. And the possibility of hearing is the amount of vocabularies you get.
Okay.
So those are the 2 links. Bad speakers are bad writers. And you may not be able to hear when you don't have the quantum of vocabularies needed. In movies, I should say this, movies have high impact on ability of people to break out into eventually speaking.
Yeah.
Because somebody call avec la confiance en français. If you don't speak with confidence, you are not there. And how do you get into the speaking confidence? if you don't have the amount of vocabularies. So the
Right.
movie that make impacts, when I said yes, the movies that make impact and help people to speak, they are movies that while the languages are being spoken, the subtitles are there. So people get to watch what they like, the movies they like, and they get to see the subtitle. So when it comes together, then it's making impact.
Yeah.
You're watching the movie of your interest, and you are seeing the subtitles. So, of course,
Yeah. But would that make it easier for a person to learn a language with this? So for instance, because I watch a lot of Japanese anime, I know Ohio is good morning in Japanese because of the subtitles, for instance, right? So does the subtitles, does it aid or, kind of doesn't help with the learning process for a person?
it actually aids.
Okay.
It aids, but it's not enough. It aids. Language should not be learned dysfunctionally. You understand?
Okay.
So it means that if you get a lot in the class, maybe you use app or you are in the live class, you get the real life vocabularies that are being used from the movies.
Okay.
Best in class sometimes not best in practice. So it means that there's some words that are used in class that are purely academic, but they are not useful. They're not usually used in real life. So when you look at the movie, movie setting, and you look at the subtitle, what you have in the movies, they are the reflections of what is being used in the
real
society, in the
life.
real world. So, of course, it's a positive.
Yeah, yeah. And okay, so with language, there's obviously the verbal, right? How about, for instance, the non-verbal communication in, for instance, a culture or a language like the Chinese or Mandarin? For instance, when the Italians do something like this, it's a sign of, maybe anger, frustration, irritation, or whatever the case may be, right? So are there, can a person, the question I'm asking is, apart from the verbal languages, are there other forms of speaking or communicating a person can gain from this, from watching movies, for instance?
Yes. Language itself is a culture. The way people live cannot be separated from the way they speak. People grow up, we learn language by nature and by nurture. So there are gestures, there are gesticulations you bring into play when you're making a movie or probably in your daily life. In German, while I was learning German, there were some acronyms. For those that speak German, you say USW, which means so weiter, and so on.
Okay.
That means etc.
Okay,
in Latino and Latino Spanish.
And this is the writing.
Exactly.
Okay.
USW. So the acronyms, the signs, while you are learning the language over the levels of study, language has levels of study. So the gestures and the signs, the non-verbal signs, are brought in. Now, while you learn, you get to watch audio visuals. So while doing that, it helps you to also capture the non-verbal, signs in learning the language.
Right. Okay, so now let's get into language culture. What exactly, you said this term, language culture. What is language culture?
I would define language culture as a consistent mental push, intentional push to assimilate language. I would say it this way. The language that's been done in school, maybe when a child gets to school, starts to go to school, is not itself the language culture. That's language teaching. Language culture itself is the variety or the random selections a child is exposed to growing up, not in a formal setting. That itself is the culture. The reflection of how you live that is impacted by the language or that you impact on language.
Yeah.
So it's vice versa.
Yeah.
That itself is a culture. It's not what you get in a formal setting. Hence, if you see someone like us, where you foray away from your mother tongue, from English, maybe you move to German or you move to Japanese, and you're able to speak at a top level, they say you've been reborn. That's a rebirth. Because the culture itself that you get, that you really get, is what you don't learn or you are able to master
Wow.
out of being innate or out of inheritance, or you're able to push yourself to get to that level of dexterity.
Right.
You understand? That's the culture. So it's a mental thing. A parent trying to ensure that the child speaks
Right.
is a culture. You understand? It reflects the way they live. That's why you see some people, you say, I love German. Just the mere mention of the word, the Bäckerei, which means bakery, or you say the Apotheke, or you say the Krankenhaus, which is hospital.
Right.
It makes them want to be in a German environment. It makes them want to travel to German-speaking countries, Austria, Germany, Belgium, Switzerland, and all that. So the name, you could hear someone say, Konnichiwa, Arigato. I'm sure you know the language I'm talking about. You want to be in the land of the rising sun.
Yeah,
You understand? That's where you want to be. You understand? So yeah, was like somebody says to you, come see, come ça. That sounds French. Vous allez français. You just want to be Champs-Élysées, and you want to go there, Parc des Princes and all that. So the kind of culture that's, just note this, the mental strength,
Right.
the intentional push to get someone or to get yourself into a situation of dexterity in a language study. That's language culture.
All right. So, okay, I want to understand this a lot better, right? And it's really fascinating to me. Okay, so language culture, you're saying is, so for instance, when we're going in secondary school or primary school where we're learning French, that is language learning.
That's correct.
Right. Language culture is a person living out the language that they're learning, so to speak, right?
That's
so,
correct.
for instance, when we're growing up, and in a home where you're being taught English, you're watching English programs, like for instance, Tea or Coffee, or English cartoons. Your parents are speaking English to you. You go to a church or religious institution where they're speaking English. This is what makes a language culture.
That's
right?
correct.
All right. Okay.
correct.
Now, for you, right? Now, what I want to understand is how, for instance, learning a language like Chinese, Mandarin, how were you able to surround yourself with the culture of that language without, did you leave Nigeria to study this language?
Not at all.
Exactly. So how are you able to surround yourself with the culture of this language without being in the country, without being in the culture per se?
Okay, I get it. What you're saying is that if I will rephrase your question,
please.
without being immersed
Yes.
in the location of the language.
How do you now immerse yourself in the culture when you're not in the location?
Exactly. Language has 4 parts:
Okay.
reading, writing, speaking, and hearing. People speak the way they write. Bad writers are bad speakers. Number 3, the most difficult part of any language, my viewers can attest to this, for those that are experiential in language studies, is hearing. The best of speakers in the world, I can tell you, including me, yours sincerely, would have scored their lowest points, lowest grade, while going through their attestation exams. Hearing is the most difficult part. And this is the reason. You never get to hear everything your co-discussant is saying to interpret. You may never have to. But it's the amount of vocabularies you have that you carry that will help you to determine, maybe I've heard 10 out of 12, I've heard 14 out of 17. I can make a meaning out of this. Even if you are a simultaneous or a consecutive interpreter,
Right.
you use that style. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you're able to master those 4 parts, then you can actually capture a language without really going to live there.
So just to reiterate, these 4
Yes.
parts are reading, listening, writing,
And hearing.
All right,
hearing.
please go on.
So basically, the 4 parts must be carried together. Never be deficient in any. If you looking to move your career forward,
Yeah.
or business, or probably movie industry or entertainment, the infotainment industry, the first point of contact is speaking well. Nobody is ever going to ask you, get me your idioma extranjera de español. I'm speaking of test of Spanish as a foreign language, your certificate. Nobody's going to ask you that.
I really enjoyed this interview.
But you say to someone, quiero desearte palabras, para desearte la palabras de Dios. You understand?
Please translate.
I'm here to share some good news with you. Basically, or you see someone, you say, confío en Dios que todos está bien. I was about speaking French there. Confío en Dios, todos está bien. I have confidence that all is well, that everything's fine.
That is Spanish.
I trust you are good.
Okay.
That's Spanish now.
Okay.
You said that, then the conversation begins. You understand? The conversation begins. You spoke. You didn't write. So, level 1, you must speak well. You capture that. How do you speak well? You must have been writing well. I get to encourage people, while learning a language, you handwrite. You don't type. You handwrite. Because there's a pigmentation in your head that pictures what you've written down that helps you to translate it to speaking. So you write well, you speak well. Then you move then to the grammar, the structure, the vocabularies. You capture that, then it helps you to hear.
Yeah.
Then you want to ask me, there's one I didn't mention, reading. Reading and writing go hand in hand.
Right.
The comprehension. So as you learn the vocabularies, you are able to hear. You write texts, then you are able to speak. It all goes together. Then, moving forward, every opportunity you have to deploy, to use the technology around you or what you have access to help you move forward, always use it.
Digitalization, apps and all those kind of things.
Movies, you watch it. There's some stations on satellite, on cable TV providers that are specific in some particular language. You get to watch. You see the way people greet during news casting and some other programs. You get to watch. And you see people like us. Each time you see us, if you have a language of interest, let it be your lingua franca between you and such a person.
Right. Okay.
It will be difficult, you make mistakes, but you push yourself to speak. The person is going to correct you, you understand? But it's going to be a lot of improvement for you. They say in French that si c'est possible de parler avec beaucoup de gens, c'est possible pour vous d'améliorer votre capacité en français. Oui. So if you speak with a lot of people, like that, you say we. If you are able to speak with a lot of people, you understand? It's an opportunity also for you to improve your capacity.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yes.
All right, so now I want to, talking about listening. I find it very interesting that you say listening can be the most difficult part of learning any language. And it actually makes sense because obviously you're learning how to say the words and that is speaking. Right. And sometimes, I love this comment you said, please correct me if I'm wrong, bad speakers make bad writers, right?
Yes, bad writers make bad speakers.
Right? So, so as you are speaking, you need to learn also to write, and then you can learn how to read. But then listening, listening to another person saying the words, maybe not in the way that you say it, is maybe what makes it a bit difficult, right? Yes. So now I want to talk about music as a tool for learning or improving language. With music, with movies, you're seeing a conversation. But then obviously with music, for instance, listening to a music in French or listening to a music in German, like how relevant can it, or how strong can music be for a tool for learning a new language or improving language skills?
Oh, fantastic. I told you that earlier on. People like to pick, to learn from what they have interest in. So if you love music, you want to go all the way to look at the lyrics of the music.
Yeah.
You understand? So when you look at the lyrics of the music, you try to understand the meaning of each word.
Yeah.
There's a South African song, I hope I remember before the program goes off. If you know the song, you can hum it, you go after the lyrics, then you have a picture in your head, how the song moves you, the rhythm. You really want to learn what each word means. So, just like movie, you understand? A lot of people have picked words watching different kind of movies. You understand? So, the same way also in language. There are songs also that some musicians have been able to translate.
Right.
And some of these musicians speak different languages.
Yeah.
So they've been able to sing it in English and in different languages. So for me, the same stance on movie is my stance also on music.
Yeah.
You like what you want to hear the sound, you want to hear the music. Interestingly, some even have preferred singers, preferred musicians. You understand?
Yeah.
And interestingly, they are not musicians of that have origin from their country. You understand? You can imagine
Actually.
someone in West Africa having so much interest in listening to Spanish songs. Somebody living in South America, maybe Argentina.
I enjoy French rap, for instance, and I don't even understand French. Wow. You know, I enjoy French hip hop a lot. It's just an example of what you're saying, really.
You understand?
Actually. All right. So, you know, as an academic, right? Now, I want to talk about the teaching of these languages, right? So, you know, we've mentioned how music can be a very good learning tool. We've gone into movies as well. You've mentioned broadcasting, entertainment shows, and things like that, right? So, you know, as someone who teaches these languages to people who are trying to learn, what kind of challenges do you face in their learning, and how do you try and overcome it?
That's a good one. Experientially, I would say this. It takes mental strength to close, to move towards a point of no return. In a language, there are 6 levels. You have the basic, you have the beginners and basic, that's A1 and A2, this is pre-intermediate, and you have the B1, B2, which is the business level 1, business level 2. Some other people call it intermediate 1, intermediate 2. Then you now have the advanced C1, then the second advance, which is like speaking like a native speaker. That's the C2. The challenge we've had that we've helped people to overcome is that once they do level 1 and 2, they're already speaking. They feel that they are there. They are not there. The level 1 and 2 only helps people to have general conversation, basic words, strumming it together, you know. That's all you get. But you are not able to close deals, close transactions, have serious business discussion. You need the level 3 and 4 to do that. That's the challenge we've been able to help people to overcome. Tell them the truth, tell them the way it should be. That is the line you should toe. That's number 1. Then number 2, people have mentally, even though they have interest, it's good to look at people speak different languages from afar. But they say, no way. I just can't do it. You understand? You encourage people that across ages, you can learn. There's no barrier. I'm talking of cultural, age-long mentality of people that a particular age can't learn language anymore. I started at the age of 30.
Really?
Yes.
Like all the languages?
All the languages.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. By 37, I was already on my 9th language.
Wow.
Palagra Studio, that's by the grace of God. So that is that. So that in itself is an encouragement. You understand? So if you say a child can learn as much, you need to start when you are sub 10. Wow. No, you never know. You can start learning at any time. So we've been able to encourage people over the years that age is not a barrier.
Yeah, you know, fascinatingly enough, I was going to ask you that is it too late for a 30-year-old to, you know, honestly, I was going to ask you before you said that because, you know, in some of our views from the net, some of the comments we got from viewers, you know, a viewer actually said, you know, that, it feels like it's too late for him to learn a language. And now I'm learning that at 30, that's where you, at 37, you were on 9 languages.
Yes.
Now, for people who probably don't understand some of the benefits a person can reap from speaking, from being multilingual, how are you, how is that for you? How are you reaping, the harvest, of the labor, that you've put into learning these languages? My question is, how beneficial is being multilingual in this current economic climate?
Oh, fantastic. Languages are barrier breakers. So the businesses you do, the adventures you want to have, you understand, the lifelong adventures you want to have cannot be separated from ability to communicate with the people that will give you that benefit, those benefits. For me, personally, pour moi, I'll speak personally and I will speak generally.
Yes.
You want to have access to funding. You have some kind of idea. You just want global attention. The best way to put your interest for global view is to have them presented in different languages. You shoot them to different parts of the world. I can tell you, the Farsi speakers, the Wolof speakers, the African speakers will show interest. You go as far as Turkey, you speak to them, they will show interest. The Latino Spanish, the Hispanics, all sort of people who have interest, if not for funding, even if for recognition. Of course, I'm here today. Of course, if you don't remember anything, I'm here today. What do I do? I speak languages. You understand?
Yeah.
So you get the recognition. And once recognition is there, prominence will come, affluence will come. Of course, so goes with relevance. So basically, the reaping of benefit is inexhaustive. You understand? I just spoke about funding. You could go religious also. You want to work as a missionary, whatever faith you belong to. You understand? You want to capture the world. You want to go far. You understand? You speak their language, they come close to you. You understand? In the entertainment industry, you create movies, you put them in different languages. Of course, that sounds like money. You understand?
Yeah.
That sounds like interest. And everything is not always about money. Even for the non-profit organizations, you want to help the humanity. You understand? Improve farming. You want to improve people's health. Omicron came. I say came, I'm believing it's going. COVID came. You understand? You want to work for Doctors Without Borders. They call them Médecins Sans Frontières. Or you call them Act ohne Grenzen. I'm speaking German now.
Okay.
I just spoke like 3 languages now. So Doctors Without Borders. You want to go to the crannies of the world to help people. When you don't speak their language, how do you help them? How do you administer drugs? You understand? So I've mentioned like about four now.
Yeah.
And in the political balance, how best can you make impact with WHO, with United Nations, with World Bank, couple of international organizations? You understand?
Even in African localities, something like ECOWAS.
ECOWAS,
even. Yeah.
African Union.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I've done a couple of interpretations and translations on documents. Of course, for confidentiality, I can't discuss that now. But you see the impact of these high-level organizations on Africa. It's big. But you never know, because you may never know except you speak language of those people that those impacts have been made on. So when you visit those places, you get to work maybe as humanitarian, you understand, or ambassador. You don't get there except you speak those languages.
Yeah.
You get to see them firsthand.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. When people don't see, they don't believe. You understand? So when you don't learn, you won't know it exists. And when you don't see people like us, you may never know it's possible. So
Actually, that is hard. Okay, I want to ask an honest question. Do you, in your personal conversations, do you have a problem with code mixing? So, for instance, when you are speaking with friends, that probably don't understand French, does it ever happen that, you are having a genuine conversation and then French word will just enter the mix and they're like, What was that? Does that ever happen to you in your personal life?
Yes. In my early days of learning,
Yeah.
you know, I started with French. Then I left French for a while. I went to German. Then went to Spanish. Came back to French. Then moved on to Chinese.
Yeah.
Yes, it happened to me in my early days of learning. Why do people do that? Sometimes you want to communicate your inner thought. I get to a place, I just see something not well done. I could say, they will ask you, how did you see the program? I don't want to say anything bad. I just say, you know what, comme ci, comme ça. Comme ci, comme ça. Which, of course, is colloquial.
Yeah.
Of course, it should be moderément. You know, there are other ways of saying it, higher level French. Say comme ci, comme ça. You understand? You just say that. So, comme ci, comme ça, it's been brought gradually into English, which means something you can't say, you can't, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
You understand? You just don't, you say, yeah, I'm done, capiche? You use words like capiche, you
Right.
broke it in English. Are you done speaking? You say, ciao. People say, ciao. Ciao is Italiano, and it's French.
Yeah.
It's basically Spanish too. It's from
Why
Latin.
do people do that?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Ciao. You know, people do that because sometimes you want to stand out. You feel it makes you to stand out. Instead of me saying thank you to somebody, I just leave and say something like, vielen Dank. That's many thanks in German. I say, vielen Dank. People get to look at you. What's he saying? You understand? What's he saying? But you've attracted traffic to you.
Yeah.
So they want to know what's he really saying. It's just thanking you. You understand? So it makes people want to stand out. It happened to me. Then also when you are coming up, when you are learning, because the picture in your head, you are trying to put vocabularies together. It just slips in. It slips in. How do I learn? How do I get so good at what I do? I usually picture mentally. I see a billboard. I see something pass on the internet. I try to interpret it in my head. So I'm mentally working. So as you work mentally, anything that passes, you exact. You just exact what you've learned on it.
Okay.
So it makes it the reason is that either you are learning, you are still starting, you are just starting, you are trying to put your vocabulary together, you get to mix it, or you want to stand out, or you really want to pass your inner thought that you can't really pass in the language of communication at that point. Those are the major reasons I can.
Okay, what is the most expressive language in your experience that you can speak? You know, out of all the languages that you can speak, what is the most? You know, I've heard English is not a very expressive language. I've even heard, you know, some foreign speakers say English is a very ugly language, that there's not enough English words to really describe emotions and, you know, humanity, things like this. So in your experience, what is the most expressive language that you can speak?
In my experience, I would say German is the most expressive.
German? How so?
German has more vocabularies than English.
Okay.
Yeah. And German allows you to speak longer sentences with shorter words.
Interesting.
Yes, interesting. I'm talking experientially. Because as you go higher in the study of German, you get to realize that some words that if you should interpret them in English, you might have to use 3 words. You could, an example, you want to say, I am eating. I'm taking breakfast. I'm having breakfast. You can't say, you cannot say in English, I breakfasted. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, that's like, I cannot say, I am breakfasting.
Okay, yes.
Maybe you are not permitted to say that.
Yeah. Because breakfast is really like a noun, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactement. Ce n'est pas possible en anglais. But it's possible in German. Ich frühstücke momentan. Ich frühstücke momentan. It really means, if you translate, it means I am breakfasting at the moment. Instead of you saying that Frühstück is serviert, the breakfast is served. I've turned it to a noun now. The Frühstück is serviert. The breakfast is served.
Yeah.
But I could go on and say, I am breakfasting right now. You know, ich
as a verb.
frühstücke.
Yeah.
You know, ich habe das zum Frühstück. But you could say that I'm having that as breakfast. But what I'm saying that ich frühstücke momentan. I am eating. I'm breakfasting now. That's possible in German.
That's very interesting.
Is it possible in French? Yes. In a way, you can say it. You find a way to say it.
Okay.
You understand? You could say je déjeune. You know, you could say I'm having je mange. Of course, that's I'm eating.
Yeah.
You know, le petit déjeuner. Je mange quelque chose comme le petit déjeuner. You understand? But for me, I know that German is most expressive. And when you look at the words, especially when you get to business and advanced level in German, you get words that enable you to say your sentences shorter.
Yeah.
But the only snag I would say with German is, like they say, don't try this at home. German is the only language, one of the few languages in the world that as an interpreter you cannot translate directly until you probably hear the last word
Right.
of the sentence. Because the last word of the sentence determines the direction of the sentence.
Interesting.
For example, you have a sentence like you want to say, "You're smart now." I know you are smart, literally, and I know I'm saying now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that you are very smart. I will say it slowly. I think that you are very smart. German people don't speak like that. They speak like, "I think that you very smart are."
Okay. So that directs it as a compliment.
Exactly.
Right, sort of.
You know, I
yeah.
could have said, "I think that you very smart are not." You would have interpreted, yeah. He said, "I think that you're very smart." No. Just wait for it. Wait for the last.
Interesting.
So if I say, "Ich denke, dass du sehr klug bist." That's informal. If I say, "Ich denke, dass sie sehr klug sind." I think that you are very smart. I could have said, "Ich denke, dass sie sehr klug nicht sind."
Yeah. Nicht.
Or
Okay.
nicht sehr
Yeah.
gut sind.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
I have negated it, but it means that because of that das, which is that, it takes the first verb to the back,
Right.
which is the part of are, the modal verb, which is are, I am, the verb to be. Of course, this is not a class. Please.
Yeah, I know.
It goes to the back.
Yeah.
So that's German for you. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that in French.
Yeah.
Je
Yeah.
pense que vous êtes très intelligent. You understand? It doesn't. The et, vous êtes now, the et doesn't go to the back. It's not like that in English. I will never say, "I think that you're very smart."
You're right.
You understand?
Okay. All right. So we need to wrap up. Okay. So my final question: what language do you predominantly think in? This is a personal question for you. What do you think in? Do you think in English, Yoruba, German, French? Like, what language do you think in?
I think in German.
Really?
Yes.
German is your favorite language then?
Yes. Mother tongue is English. Of course, I have like 5 other languages that are mother tongue for me because of my parents.
Okay.
Our growing up,
Okay.
like nature and nurture brought me into 5 other languages. You understand? But that's parenting though.
Okay.
And it's place of gift. But in the course of my life, German, I've had much interest in German. And German is my best spoken language. Yes. I've had much interest in German. And it gets to, let me rephrase what you said. The moment you are able to dream, you're able to dream
Wow.
in another language,
Wow.
then you are there.
Oh my goodness. You dream in German.
Yes.
My goodness.
Then you are there. If you are not yet there, if you are not dream, there's traum. The traum. So if you are not able to dream, you understand,
Yes.
in German, in another language, you are not yet there.
Yeah, no, you're there.
And once you are able to dream, you've brought that language to your
I like this.
Mother tongue.
I like this parameter for judging how well a person. So the question you have to ask yourself: am I dreaming in the language I am learning?
Yeah.
Very, very. This has been a wonderful conversation. But before you go, I want you to. Before you go, I want you to just in any language of your choice.
Correct.
That's the trick we're going to do. In any language of your choice, that is your camera. I want you to encourage viewers at home. They might not understand it, but anyway, we're going to encourage them. The good thing about High Impact is that we have a very wide reach. We broadcast to, French-speaking countries, Arabic-speaking countries, so they, some of these countries will pick up what the things you're saying. So very quickly, I want you to encourage viewers at home who are watching this show this morning on the beneficiaries
Right.
of being multilingual.
Okay, just one language.
Any language of your choice.
Okay. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Mein Name ist Afolabi, der führende Lehrer von AG Languages. Ich bin nigerianisch. Ich bin ein Nigerianer. Ich kann gut Deutsch sprechen und andere Sprache. Ich spreche 9 Sprachen. Momentan bin ich in Nigeria, Westafrika, besonders. Ich bin hier mit Ihnen zu sprechen, Ihnen zu motivieren. Du musst, wenn Sie eine Sprache lernen müssen, du musst Geld ausgeben, Energie verbringen und sich motivieren. Das ist der Punkt heute. So, danke noch einmal für eure Aufmerksamkeit. Danke für das Ohren. Ich danke Ihnen und bei der Gnade Gottes alles Gute. Alles Gute. Vielen Dank.
Wow, that was amazing. That was German, wasn't it?
German.
That was amazing. Afolabi Oni, thank you very much for. I had a lot of fun on this interview, and most importantly, I was able to learn a lot. Thank you very much for joining us in the
You're
studio
welcome, sir.
this one. I'm sure our viewers are buzzing. That is Afolabi Oni on the conversation on the impact of movies on learning a new language. I hope you've been able to learn something